Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. So first of all, thank you for all supporting me and do commenting on my videos. So I have received many comments requesting a video on filters, interceptors and Spring security. So as per your request, I am doing this video. In this video, we'll cover Spring Boot filters. Without further delay, let's get started. So as for this video, we'll cover what is filters and how to use filters in Spring Boot application and how to create filters in orders, and also we'll explore other filters. So first we'll give you overview of these filters. After that we'll do the demo on this filter. So filters are important part of building web applications. So if you see, so filters allow you to intercept request and response in order to apply the custom logic such as authentication, logging, or modifying the request and response object. So filters will execute before request handled to the controller and after sending response back to the client. So these filters are a part of Java Servlet API and they will allow you to pre-process, post-process request and response. So if you see this diagram, so here is the client and here is the control of our Spring Boot application. So first request come to the Tomcat server and Tomcat will hand over to dispatcher servlet and dispatcher servlet hand over to the controller. Then our API will start executing from the controller class. In the same way, response also will return back to the client from the dispatcher servlet to Tomcat, Tomcat to the client. So in this scenario where our filters will execute, so filter will available in between the Tomcat and dispatcher servlet. So if you see, whenever the request is handling to the dispatcher servlet, in between, if you want to perform any kind of logic like logging mechanism, any kind of authentication and authorizations, or if you want to modify anything, you can do before hand over the request to the dispatcher servlet itself, our filter will execute. So once filter is executed, then this request go to the controller, then controller will start executing the API process. In the same way, it will response also, it will back to that client. If you are dealing with collection of filter, then we are call that one as a filter chain. So now we can see how to create a filters. Okay, filter is a part of java.servlet API, and here if you see the filter is a interface, so we can use the filter interface to create our own filter. And this filter interface will having the three methods, that is init, destroy and do filter. But we are mostly concentrating on do filter because we are writing our own logic inside do filter only. So init and destroy we are not mentioning anything. Our logic should be there in the do filter only. Whenever request is coming to the Tomcat to the dispatcher servlet, then our do filter will be executed before reaching request to the controller. And also once the process is completed, again this response went back to the client. That time also post process logic, if you want, you can keep inside the do filter, it will execute the post filter also. So if you see this, so here is a pre-processing logic we are mentioning, and then if you see chain.do filter, then we are mentioning post-processing logic. So sometimes we'll give that multiple filter logics in our application. So there is a chance of executing this filter logic multiple times. To avoid those kind of duplication filter execution, then there is a one more class is there. You can use that class. That class name is once for request filter. So either you can use the filter interface or once for request filter class. So inside whatever the logic we are mentioning, the once per request filter class, it is executed only once for the request. So if you are extending once per request filter, here there is a method like do filter internal. You can use, we need to override this do filter internal and we need to specify our own logic. Here we see two kind of filter. One is filter interface. We can use either once per request filter. Anyone you can use to apply the filters into the Spring Boot project. In the same way, if you want to register the filter related to that any specific URL. So in this case, we need to register a filter using this filter config. So we need to create one class like filter config and we need to mention annotation configuration. There we need to create the object for filter registration bin and then we need to set your filter class and we need to set the URL pattern, which URL we need to execute this filter. So like this you can able to register the specific filter to the specific path. So as of now we discussed what is the filter, how to create the filter and how many ways are there to create the filter and how to register a filter with specific URL pattern. Now we'll see one demo, the Spring Boot application from Spring Initializer. So here I am creating the Spring Boot project. So I am using Maven project. So group name com.java codex and artifact name I am specifying Spring Boot filters and here is the package name and here I am adding the dependencies. One is web, another one is Lombard. So here I am not specifying any database operations logic, just I am creating the simple project and we'll see how to use filters in our project. So project is generated. Now we'll import this project into IntelliJ IDE. So here is my pom.xml file. So here I'm having only starter web and Lombard. Now we'll create one controller for this. So I'm creating one package like controller. Now we'll create one controller class, that is customer controller. So in this customer controller, I will create one API method, public string get message. This is my get API and it will return welcome to filter session. So this is it. This is the message it will return and I'm using annotation rest controller and annotation request mapping will use /API and here we need to specify get mapping. So I'm using get mapping and here I will give directly customer. Okay, so when you hit the customer API it will return welcome to filter session. Now we'll create one more package for filter. So com.java codex.filter. So in the filter package I will create one class that implements filter interface. So what is the class I'm creating? Message filter. So this is the class and implements filter interface. So if you see, it is asking to override the methods. So It is, see, do filter and init and destroy. So you can click on this. So I'm not using init and destroy, only I'm using do filter method. So in this do filter, we need to write our own logic. Mostly in the do filter, we need to write the logic for common logging mechanism and also authentication and authorization related functionality will write inside the do filter, because this do filter will execute at the time of request coming to that Spring Boot application before reaching to that controller. This is the first method it will execute before request processing. So by using that, so now using this, we need to check what kind of method we are calling before reaching to the request. I'm using SLF4J logging mechanism. Here I am printing local port and server name using this request object. And also I'm using HTTP servlet request to print the method and request URI and servlet path. Now we can start the server and see this log information, how it will show. Can go to that application. Before that one, I will change my server port number. So I will use server port 9898. Now I will start this application. If you see this logs now, so here our Tomcat is started in 9898 and I have only one API in the customer controller, that is /customer. It is also get API. So I can able to request this one from the browser directly. So I will go to the browser and I will type http:// 9898/customer. Okay, so when hit, if you see welcome to filter session, I received the response. If you observe these logs, but in the logs I'm not able to see this, whatever the logs I have mentioned in the filters. So what is the issue? If you observe this filter class, here we missed to mention annotation component. Why means if you are mentioning annotation component, then IOC container can scan this class and it will create the bin and it will register with bin registry. So it was missing. Due to this one, we are not able to see this information in the console. It is not working. So now we'll restart one more time. Just remember, we need to mention annotation component at the class level if you are using filters. So now again I'm restarting this service. If you see service is up and running, now I cleared my logs and again I am hitting the same request, and if you see again I receive the response. And if you observe my logs here, if you see here it is showing message filter inside do filter method is executed. So if you see this is a port number, so my port number is running on 9898 and it is the server name is localhost. What is the method? Get method. And what is the API? /customer, and servlet path is /customer. See, so like this, if you want to see the information about your request, then you can able to use the do filters. So it will print all this information before processing your request. Not only this information, you can use the authentication and authorization process and logs. If you want to configure the centralized locking mechanism, then you can configure here. Okay, so this is the one way to use the filters, and there is another way. Instead of using filter interface, you can use OncePerRequesetFilter. You can extend this OncePerRequesetFilter class and you can override this method. Then also you can enable filters in your application. Let's see this one quickly. So in the same application, I will stop this server. Now I will create one more controller class, that is product controller. So now I will create one more API for this product controller, and I will create one get mapping, get product details. Okay, this is one get mapping slash, so slash product I'm using, and this will return directly one product information. Welcome to product. Otherwise we'll give one congratulations to purchased my product. Okay, so we're just returning this message back to client. Okay, so whenever we call this product, then it will call to the get product details, and it will return this congratulations message to the client. Okay, now we are, so now what we need to do, previously we use this filter interface, now we'll use the once for request filter class. So for that one we'll create one more filter class. Like previously we used message filter, now we'll use the product filter, and we need to extend. So if you see once for request filter, and again we need to override the unimplemented method. If you see do filter internal is a method, we need to override this method. Okay, now we need to provide the logic for this. So for example, I am copy pasting the same logic what we are added in the previous filter. They here also we need to specify the component. Okay, now if you see our, so if you see our filter class product filter, but here it will change, it is not a chain, it is a filter chain. Okay, so if you see this filter, this is the product filter. So whenever we are requesting to the product API, so if you see this is the product controller, when you are hit this product API, and it should execute this do filter internal method, and it will display this information into the console. We are added once for request filter in our project. Now we'll message filter already we are tested, right? So we'll just comment out this code, otherwise you can delete this file, is not required. Now we'll test for this class once for request filter, and we'll restart this application, and we'll try with the product API. So we have two API, one is for customer, another one is for product, but now we test it for product. Whenever product is executed, then do filter internal will execute. So application is started now, and I will clear this logs. Now I will go to the browser. With this time it is product, and if you hit this one, if you see, it is showing congratulations to purchased my product. Now if you see the logs, if you see here, so it is a product filter 9898 localhost and product. So like this you can use the once for request filter class in your Spring Boot applications. Okay, so another scenario is if you want to add that filter related to the specific URL, then we need to register those filters. Now we'll see that one, registering filter. So this register we can do based on the URL pattern. Now we'll implement this one. So for that one we can back to our code. So we need this message filter now, and in the message filter, so we'll create one configuration package like config, and inside the configuration we'll create one class like filter configuration. The class we need to annotate with annotation configuration, and now we can register this filter. So if you see here, so here I am using registering bean and filter registration bean, and here I am specifying the message filter. And if you see the URL pattern, we need to use customer. Customer is our URL pattern. If you see the customer controller, here is my URL pattern. Okay. So like this, you can register the bin with the specific URL. So it will create the bin, it will register with bin registry. Okay. Now we'll test this flow. So anyway, already we tested product. Now we'll test this. So I'm restarting this service. So application is running 9898 and I will clear these logs. So if you see, this is using customer, right? So if you go to the browser now 9898 and we need to use customer. So here welcome to the filter session. So again back to the console, and if you see here, see, so message filter 9898 get customer is executed. Okay, so like this you can able to register the bin with the different URLs. With this order, to check this order we need product filter. So we'll just undo this file and we can add back to that product filter. Okay, so if you see, here is my message filter and here is my product filter. So both the filters is having do filter method. So if you want to specify the order for this filter, so we need to specify annotation order. So here we need to give the priority, which is the filter you want to execute first. So here I'm using annotation order and order of 1. So if you see the product filter, I will specify order of 2. So first it will execute this message filter, then after that order filter will be execute. To get the logs, just you can add a log force into the message filter, then log.info, and here I will use in the double quote, I will specify this is from message filter. So I'm not writing anything, only a message filter I am writing, but in the product filter I'm mentioning the product filter and other information I am printing. Okay, so I'll just copy same log message inside this and we'll change this product filter to message filter. Now we'll restart this application and server is restarting. So now application is started, port number 9898. Now we'll clear these logs. So now we'll hit any one of the API. So if you are using 9898 and product, just you can hit this, and now got the successful response. And if you observe these logs, so here see, first it is printing message filter. Why means we are mentioning order of 1. So after that it is printing the product filter. So it is follow some order to execute this filters. If you want to get the confirmation one more time, you can change this message filter order to order as 2 and this product filter order as 1. Now it should print product filter as the first. For that one, just we need to restart this service one more time. And now we'll clear this logs and we'll try to hit this API from the browser. I will refresh this API. Now again I received the successful message. Now if you observe this logs, see, now it is showing product filter is the first, after that message filter. Okay, so like this you can able to specify the order of the filters. So in this video I covered filters. In the coming video we'll cover the interceptors and difference between filters and interceptors. I hope this video is helpful for you. Please like, share and subscribe my channel for more content.